Grayguns has been getting into the market for the SIG Sauer P365, and they just released their flat version of the trigger for the P365. This trigger itself, I hadn't found that it does anything to reduce the weight. The pull weight is about the same, feels about the same as factory trigger, except for, of course, if you prefer a flat style trigger, then this is for you. So we're going to actually try to install the thing. I'm going to take this guy apart, and this is my P365 that I got back in. It was born on February 23rd. It's been really, really good. It's not a gun that I put thousands and thousands of rounds through, but I've had zero issues with the thing. No real complaints about wear or anything else like that. The only kind of wear I even barely see is up here, just because I carry it around in a Kydex inside the waistband holster like this one from Red Hill Tactical here. But it's a great gun to carry a whole lot, super, super convenient, and I've been really happy with the thing so far. Well, let's see if it's even better with a flat trigger in it. So we're going to take this down now, and of course the way you do that, just like with the P320, is you lock the slide back with the slide catch here, and then we're going to rotate the takedown lever forward, just like that, and then we're going to release the slide catch. I have noticed it tends to stick a little bit right there at the end, so for me it takes a little bit of force to get that off with mine once the takedown lever is down and everything, but your mileage may vary. Alright, so that's down, and unlike the P320, you have a pin here that you need to take out before you can remove this FCU. And the pin is actually really interesting. It's held in by a little spring over here that holds that notch in. So we're just going to push this out. And once you put a little bit of force, push it out pretty easy, but it stays in there nicely though. And again, unlike P365 that take out from the front by the takedown lever, after you take the takedown lever out, takedown lever stays in, we're just going to lift up on the back and pull out and back to get this thing out of the grip module, which by the way, these are dirt cheap. So I have one that I've textured up and actually made longer because it's a pretty short grip. I haven't played with it too much, but again, it's fun to play with P365s and P320s as far as like grip work goes. All right, now we're down this far. We do have to take this almost all the way down, depending on how careful you are in order to get the trigger in. So that is a difference from the P320 again. So I will say going in, this is not for the faint of heart. This one definitely is a little bit more difficult. So Grayguns recommends having a competent gunsmith do this work for you. So first we're going to take out the slide catch here, and the way we're doing that is just starting to pull from the back side of it here, lift that back side out of the slide catch, and then there's a little spring that this hooks under. So I'm just going to carefully rotate this and pull out, and it comes out pretty easily actually. And there's the end of that spring, as opposed to the P320. This is definitely, the FCU itself is more intricate. It's amazing how well they've fit parts in here, and it looks like they've reduced the number of parts in a couple of areas, so that it's kind of all goes in one way and all comes back out one way. And again, just very, very interesting to see how SIG has done this. So I'm going to go ahead and take, there's this pin back here. It's really strange shaped silver colored pin that holds in another pin. You look right there, it holds in a large pin, and that pin is actually what the striker and the striker spring right on. And then this other pin that has this odd head, that is actually what this lifter safety rides on. Right there, that guy. You can see him. Where'd my pick go? This guy. And what we're going to do is we're going to try to not take this all the way out. It's under tension because the striker spring rides on it. So we're just going to pop my pick under here. I'm just going to pull it out about this far, and try to go no further than that if you can, because that way it should. Oh no, I went too far. If you don't go as far as I just went, then it'll actually leave this this lifter, safety striker lifter in place. But I went out too far, so we'll do it the hard way. So if you pull out just shy of that, then you won't have to do one more step that we'll have to do now. And then up here on the takedown safety itself, getting this at about somewhere around 5 o'clock, I would say. You want to take the bottom end of this bar and kind of bend it what would be down and out, and it locks into a little notch inside the takedown. And what we're kind of going to try to do is just lift it out just like that. So lift it out of the bottom there. And then once that's clear, the takedown, once it's about at 7 o'clock, will also just lift right out. And then I should be able to sneak the back of this one out right here. Again, even if you go as far as I did where this lifter came out, don't go any further than that with this pin. Again, that striker spring is riding on this, so there's a lot of tension there. If you take it out, it's just a pain to get it back in. I had to go from the other side with another tool to try to lift that spring up and get it to clear to get this pin to go back in a little bit easier. So certainly can be done. It's not the end of the world, but if you can, I'd avoid it. Now, focusing on the other side, we want to get the trigger bar spring off, and this right here hooks where it hooks onto the trigger bar. If you can see that right there. We're going to go ahead and just try to unhook it there. I'm going to hold the trigger forward like this, just so it doesn't move on me, and just try to unhook this little guy back here. There it goes. Alright, so that's out of the notch. This just falls out. Alright, now that back of that trigger bar lifts right out, just like it would with the P320. Now is the tricky part. If you see this little hole right here that's in the factory trigger, as well as, of course, the Grayguns trigger has that little teeny hole right there. There's a pin that's right down here that holds the trigger on, and that pin has to be pushed out. And for that, I'm using just a paper clip, and we're just going to put this paper clip inside that hole. I'm just going to push, and that pin will fall right out. And then unlocking this trigger bar so the back of that trigger bar is free, and moving this all the way forward with the trigger, I guess, in the rearmost position for the trigger, where the top here is over this hole. I can get this trigger bar unhooked and out from underneath, just like that. I need to unhook that, of course, so I can take the trigger itself out, which just then should pull out from the bottom. I'll play with this a little bit here. There it goes. Just like that. So again, just like the P320, this trigger hooks on this little axle, just like this trigger bar hooks on the axle like this. Okay, so now that's out. Again, look at these two triggers between the factory and the Grayguns. They're both steel. Really nice finish on the Grayguns trigger. They always do a really good job with that, and it feels like as lighter or lighter. I haven't put this on a scale, but should be no change in the actual safety or anything of the P365 by putting in this flat trigger. So let's go ahead and start putting this flat trigger back in. So just like the other way around, I'm going to start with the trigger bar here and get this trigger bar into this hole. Actually, take that back. We're going to leave the trigger bar out. We're going to start with the trigger itself and see if we can get the trigger up into position just like that. Okay, so there's the trigger. And now with that, again, that trigger more in that rear position, I'm just going to try to sneak this trigger bar underneath it here and we're going to try to connect that notch. All right, just like that. So we're all hooked up there. Okay, now from the other end, we're going to drop that pin in. Nothing special about that. Should go in pretty easily. Just going to tap it. And that pin should be flush on this side. All right. And then we go ahead, and I'm going to start doing the other side here now. So we'll start with the takedown lever. And that takedown lever wants to be at around 7 o'clock to go in. If it's not, you'll see if it's like 5, 6, and then there we go, around 7. Here it just dropped right in there. And when it's in all the way, then on this side, this little nub here on the back of the takedown is going to be flush with the side of the trigger and with the side of the FCU versus being inset. And then we're going to take this takedown safety bar here, whatever we call this, and we're going to get this in. I'm going to put the back in first, actually. So sneaking that back under that pin that I didn't want to take out all the way, but I took out a little bit too far anyway. And then with the takedown right around at 4 o'clock, 5, more like 5 o'clock, I guess. We're just going to take. Let me show you this little tab, this little spot right here at the very top of that trigger bar. We're just going to try to fit that right into the notch that's in the takedown. And I'll show you that notch is right there. So again, this little tab goes into this notch right there. So again, back goes in. We're going to get this notch in here, make sure it's all the way in. Go to about, we're at 5 o'clock right now with the takedown. I'm just going to angle this in and just try to snap this little tab into that notch. There it goes. Just kind of clear it under that tab. I'm about, it's like 3 o'clock the takedown. So that is now in there. And checking the other side, yeah, this is still flush back here. So we're good there. Now, because I went just a little bit too far on that small pin, I got to put that lifter back in. So don't go quite as far as I did. So that's going to go into this slot right here, right next to the sear. And actually, taking that trigger bar out, this is pretty cool here. This is actually a little metal plate. Just pushes down. And that exposes these holes here for those pins. And let's see here. This lifter is going to go in this way. So it's going to be pointed basically towards the muzzle end. I'm just going to drop it in this hole. And you can see it right there coming through this little hole. So we're almost lined up. I'm just actually holding this into position with this other punch while I'm pushing this pin in on this side. Nope, not quite lined up. I'm just looking through a small hole. Not the large one, the small one. Oh, there it goes. Okay, I feel it now. All right. So that's all back in. My little lifter has been restored. Again, if you don't go as far as I did, again, just pull that out, but not just a hair shorter than where I pulled it out. You don't have to mess with that. Going to grab my little plate and slide that little plate right back up there, just like that. Now we're down to the trigger bar spring. If I can get this in. Okay, got the back of the trigger bar put back in here. Trigger bar spring goes in a lot easier in the P320, frankly. Just going into this little area here, there's a notch for it. It's right there. So the back of that trigger bar, or that trigger bar spring, just sits in this little notch. It's right in that area. Once you have the one end in that notch, just like that, the other end, I can actually just use my thumb here and just hook it right into the back of that trigger bar, just like that. All right, and now we just have the slide catch. So with the slide catch, the spring that's on there needs to sit right on this little ledge. So before I put the back end in, I'm just going to take that little angled area. I'm just trying to put it right under this spring. I'm just going to wedge it up under the spring. I heard it snap in there, just like that. So that's in. Now the front part is in. I'm going to put the back in, and this trigger bar, or the this bar here, the safety, needs to get out of the way. So I'm just going to push the takedown lever and the bar back, and that'll create space to let the slide catch just snap right in there. Okay, so that's back in. Pulling the trigger here, looks like that works. So we are all ready to put it back together all the way. Again, this is going to be backwards from the P320, so trigger is going to go in first. And then we're trying to catch, there's a couple little pieces in the polymer here where the front end locks into. So that goes all the way down first, and the rear goes in after. Nice snap. Pinholes are all lined up. And it's that easy. I'm going to go ahead and, while I'm pushing the slide catch up, rotate the takedown lever back down. Grab my slide. Lock the slide catch. Push takedown lever up. And it's back together. So as far as the feel goes, again, it's good. To me, it felt about the same, and the trigger pull was about the same as previously. So, worked first time. And again, for those of you who prefer that option, there is that flat trigger option, courtesy of Grayguns. Hope that was useful. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comments, and I'll try to get to it as soon as I can.